Hey everyone, welcome to episode 21 of We Can't Code. There's definitely a whoop whoop involved here, Mike, because
21.
Have you realized 21 in a year there's 52 oh fuck, I did the math wrong. I was gonna say we were halfway through the year.
No.
You know what? If anything, we are kind of close because we've missed a couple weeks. So you know what?
Yeah, that is true. We did miss like 2 weeks, I think, because of holidays.
Dude, the last math class I took was pre-calculus. Like, not even real, legitimate calculus. So...
It's awesome, though. You know, it's old enough to drink now.
Fuck, we're only like 30 seconds in. Can we restart that? No, I'm kidding. Basic math. Finite math.
No, we're keeping that in. I fucked up too many times, so...
Whoop whoop. Well, okay. Get ready in 5 episodes for me to be really excited about halfway through the year of 26. Episode 26 is... It's like a big thing, but we'll get into that when we get there.
Yeah.
My name is Ben.
How many hours I wasted my life, and that person who wasted his life is Michael.
Yep. So, We Can't Code. This is our podcast, weekly video game podcast, as we were saying. We talk about games. We talk about game news, movies. We don't really touch on books too much, but I'm not opposed to it. I mean...
No, yeah. Yeah, we pretty much just anything that's really entertaining-wise.
Yeah.
Entertainment, open, yeah.
Kind of like techie world stuff, I guess. But not, I mean, we're not talking like graphics cards and processors and motherboards.
I might when I found out to build my own PC and all that stuff.
Yeah. Mike, I'm going to put my floppy disk in your motherboard.
Ooh, don't get me too excited.
All right. I've been doing a crap ton of stuff this week, Mike. Like, in terms of movies, shows, games, everything. Do you want to start with how your week's been going, or you can go for it, bud?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, sadly, this week was kind of boring for me. I couldn't play any of the Breath of the Wild because when I went out for my final week of training, I forgot that my girlfriend was playing Mario Kart on my Switch. Well, on our Switch, sorry. And I've totally forgot to switch the cartridge back to Breath of the Wild, so I didn't have that to play at all. And since it was the final week anyways, I was kind of busy just doing some studying and stuff. So... I only really got a chance to fully play games this weekend, which was pretty much mostly with you.
All right.
So yeah, so we can talk about those when we talk about your week and all that stuff.
Sure.
So it flows much easier.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing since you've been so busy?
Well, let's start with PUBG, because we didn't play a ton, but we played like 5 games yesterday, and that was super
I played a lot more of that with some other people too. While you were hanging out with some other people, I played a couple rounds too.
Yeah. Well, like, I haven't played... This is the second time that I've logged in since they released the new map, and I know it's been like a month or so. I haven't played in a while, but I really like that new map. It's cool. I've heard a lot of people give it shit, but I think it's kind of cool that you can just like scope people from like a mile away. I mean, it makes running around so like you have to hide in buildings so much more.
Yeah. I mean, I can see the pros and cons to the level. I'm sort of not a fan of it as much as the first one. Mostly because the first one has a lot of forestry and there's a lot more stuff to look at, which is nice. While the new map is really just deserty and there's not much on the map, sadly.
I've noticed that it was inspiring me to just, like, get a gun and go murdering immediately. Because, like, there's no point in sneaking around. It's just you gotta get the supplies and equipment before them. Like, how many times were we playing yesterday where it's like, get on the ground, find a gun, let's kill these motherfuckers.
Yeah, it was great. I love that moment.
Like, pretty much the only time that we ever did good in this game is when we murdered everyone else in the town. Yeah. And then we just had an entire town to loot to ourselves.
When we weren't hiding or being sneaky, we just kicked down the door and ran and gunned them down. That seemed when we did the best.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how most people play the game, though, is like, at least the people that don't usually win, they usually play really stealthily and slow maintenance. And so when you just kick in the door and just run and start shooting, no one fully expects that, so they don't react fast enough, and you just gun them down. It's, you know, it's awesome.
And the other thing, too, about that is that when you're starting out, like, if you pick up a pistol, even if you hear someone immediately outside, your idea isn't like, okay, keep your eyes locked on that door. Like, I've been in the mindset where I've been in that same situation, and you're like, okay, I gotta find a gun or else I'm gonna die. So, like, you can be as loud and as fast as you want, like, running up to their building. For, like, a majority of the time, if they're unequipped, they're just gonna keep searching for an item until they find one, because they don't, like, they already have in their mind, like, there's no way I'm gonna beat you unless I find an AK-47 or something. Like,
and you can actually kill someone pretty good with a pistol, too, especially right off the bat.
Yeah, you go loud, go proud.
Yeah, because they don't usually have a vest and all that stuff. We had a glorious moment where we just land this town, just you and me, and then one other team, And then we just exactly said that while we're landing. It's like, all right, fuck it, find a gun and we kill them. That's our goal. And then that's what we fucking did, and it went freaking amazing.
Yeah.
God,
This one guy ran right in front of me, and I mowed him down, and then Mike and I immediately were like, okay, just push. And we run into the house that he was like his buddy was in the house. We pretty much knew that. And we go in, and the guy's in the corner like ready for us, and we just like it was the first scene from RoboCop essentially.
It was great because like we landed, and so then I turn the corner, I see the guy on the roof, I gun him so he's down, and then I'm trying to find him waiting on the roof, and then Ben magically finds his truck that you can actually climb up and onto the roof. I'm like, sweet, and I was just right behind you. And then you just immediately gunned him down, and I saw you shooting at the door. I'm like, "Is there someone in there?" You like, "Yes." I'm like, "All right, I'm in."
Yeah, you just ran in.
I just charged in, knowing that you'd be right behind me. You were. We just both just came in exactly the same time and just gunned him down.
Yeah, and neither of us had a scratch on us. This guy was like in the corner, ready for us.
It was great,
and we just demolished.
And I love to do that. I somehow got the last kill. I actually got the kill on that last guy, and I got him with the very last bullet too. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah,
that was so close.
Granted, we didn't get. I mean, I think the highest that we ever got was like 5th or 7th place or something.
Yeah, 5th place.
But honestly, like I think that I don't mind the map, the new map, because like I think we have a lesser chance of winning normally when we play it, which makes sense. But I do like that it does feel a lot more fast-paced. Whenever you go outside, it is a struggle to be like, okay, get in the car, let's start driving, find a new place to like hunker down. Like there's no like sneaking up to a house. In the original map, you like park on the other side of a hill and you scope it out. This one, you like blow through the front gates and you charge the house and you throw in like a smoke grenade or something, and then you just go in guns blazing. Like there's no point in hiding.
Yeah.
You know right off the bat they have the advantage.
So it's like might as well just run in while they don't expect that at all.
Exactly. It's great.
The only problem I don't like about it though is that there's a lot of freaking cliffs in that new map.
Yeah.
Which is annoying because, like, how many times have we just run? It's like, fuck, there's a cliff here. Or where there's, like, and we had to jump down taking damage. Or, we're just trying to outrun the circle and there's a cliff right in front of us, which we can't clearly climb up. And it's like,
Yeah.
It's always, that's the only downside of that map, is I feel like there's a little bit too many cliffs in it.
Mm-hmm.
But still, overall, yeah, it was a great, when you and me were doing duos, it was so much fun.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I've been really enjoying PUBG. We didn't play for too much, but I do like the improvements. Like I said, I haven't played for a month or so. I'm reminded of a previous episode of We Can't Code where I was saying one of the biggest flaws for me in PUBG was that it felt very much not like a polished game. And, like, okay, as stupid as it is, like climbing through windows and hopping over walls, it feels so really good.
And especially like a situation when I was trying to find a way up onto that balcony to kill that team, you just saw the truck and like, well, I'm gonna try to climb it, and then you got into the hood of the truck, then on top of it, then onto the roof, and I was like, holy shit, yes. And I was like, thank God for that climbing mechanic, because it made the game a lot more versatile. And just forcing you just taking the stairways to get up onto a second floor. There's a lot more choices you can do.
Yeah, actually interacting with the environment, like the game feels great.
Yeah.
I mean, after last night, I would love to play this game more.
Yeah, especially with the new mindset of just being more gun-ho it's a whole different experience for me now, which I really like.
For sure. So PUBG has been good. Granted, I only played like 3 hours this week, but I mean, I'm like shell-shocked by the amount of changes, honestly. The new map is great. Just the basic mechanics feel a lot better. It like everything from like the cars too in the new map, like
they're
it feels
definitely better.
It's just cool that nothing really feels copy and pasted. Like I'm sure that there's a lot of assets that made it from one map to the other, but I mean it feels like it's a whole different experience.
It's a whole yeah, I totally agree. Like you have to do a whole different gameplay with it, or there's a whole new gameplay you can work with it and be more efficient. Which is nice.
And they totally could have half-assed this, and like they didn't. Like that one town that you guys go to, they have the casino. Like there are landmarks in that new map that aren't just like copy pasted from the previous map.
We tried to avoid the casino now. It's just a total bloodbath every time. It's just awful. So we try to go to other populated towns now. But yeah, man, that casino still. If you just want, it's like the school. If you just want to get straight into it and kill someone, just go to the casino because that's where everyone lands.
Yeah.
Or at least the
it's
casino
cool.
town. Yeah.
I like it. So that's been PUBG. Mike and I also got into the beta of well, we didn't get
Early
into the beta,
access.
but it's early access of Warhammer Vermintide 2. So this is a game that Mike and we played the first one together with a group, and it's think of pretty much just it's straight up Left 4 Dead. I mean, it's not a ripoff, but it is
Yeah.
the same exact
Get
mechanics.
from point A to point B while fighting off hordes of enemies. But instead of zombies this times, it's medieval times, and it's a Warhammer story where you have to fight off the scavens, which are rat people, which are kind of like the size of dwarfs. At least some of them. Some are a little bit bigger. And then also, within the second one, though, they've added the scavens joined up teams with these gothic barbarians, which follow these dark lords and stuff.
Is it Scavens or is it Skavens? I've always pronounced it with a hard A.
You know, I think it's Skavens, probably. I think you're right.
I mean, I'm not. I don't know the Warhammer universe.
Either do I. just remember sort of seeing the name Skaven, but I think maybe it's pronounced Skavens.
Either way, I'm not sure it matters.
Who cares?
But it is really cool because I mean, we were just talking about this a week or two ago, where we were like, I like zombies as a mode, but I wish that there was something else that zombies could be as like a very simple horde like enemy. And these rat Skavens, like this massive accumulation of like melee army, just like almost like mindless sort of, like they fit that role perfectly.
Oh yeah, they can climb on stuff very easily and all that stuff, and it's like it makes sense when you have just a horde of them coming towards you. And the game is pretty beautiful and pretty actually intense for my computer, surprisingly.
Yeah.
For my laptop. And like I still have a GeForce 980M graphics card, and my laptop still kind of struggles with that game. So I had to lower down the graphics setting, but it still looks beautiful even in lower graphics settings.
I'm sure too that I mean it is kind of like a closed alpha or whatever. I mean, up until the game comes out next week, but they might still be working in like some optimization for it. I'm sure.
there are some bugs that I noticed with it, especially when I did the tutorial with it and I was messing with the graphic settings. What I found out is that do not change the anti-aliasing and the field of view at the same time, because if you do that, it will crash your computer. And I was like, all right, note to self, don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's still got some bugs before it's released, and I'm sure it will have some bugs after. It's probably going to take a couple.
But they're nothing
patches.
groundbreaking though. I mean, it's just like one thing, and after I fixed that, the game ran great. I still think I need to lower some graphics. There's some things I can totally get rid of that I don't even notice. I know that's probably like destroying my computer, because just the game just throws hundreds of things at you, and I think like when it does this, there's dismemberment. You can cut them in half and all that stuff. There's blood spurts, weapons fly out of their hands, all that stuff. They throw weapons at you. You know, you have other allies shooting stuff and attacking. So it's a pretty intensified game. What's actually going on there, actually? And surprising how well it runs, though. Even with all that stuff going on, is pretty impressive.
So the main difference between Vermintide and Left 4 Dead is, I mean, I think that this is obvious, but there's a much heavier emphasis on melee combat versus when you play Left 4 Dead. Everyone starts with a handgun at the very least. Like there's like
with unlimited ammo.
Yeah, ranged attacks are a lot more critical in Left 4 Dead, and in Vermintide, you're pretty much sticking with your melee as your main, but range is also important. You know, there's like pretty much like Warhammer is generally in that same kind of fantasy realm as World of Warcraft. Like there are like guys that use clubs and spikes and bones for weapons, but then there's also like kind of this retro Steam kind of like technology. People have like basic blunderbuss weapons and shit. So like
the Scavens have like one is like a Gatling gun where he just actually has a Gatling gun, but it's like very old style, and I think it mostly looks like he's shooting out poison arrows at you in the end.
Yeah, but it's like steam powered, like big. I forget what you would call it, but like a pressure container that like projects.
Oh yeah, there's flamethrowers too and all that stuff.
Yeah, but so the game is really cool that it does emphasize melee a lot more. Like blocking is a huge thing. I mean, I play the pretty much a tank class. It's a dwarf, and having a shield is like super important. There's a whole thing of like push the enemies away, hit them, and then reblock and push them away and hit them. And Mike, you play the ranger class.
Which is mine. Is mostly mine is staying out of the way in the back and shooting arrows. Because what's nice about the ranger is that she gets double the ammo of every type of weapon she uses, which is awesome. But she's also really good in melee. But I'm never blocking because it's totally pointless for me to block, so it'll just break through me instantly.
Yeah.
So I'm usually behind like Ben or one of my other friends who plays as a mage. And it's freaking fantastic with the mage because he has a spell where it just blows up a certain spot and blows everyone away, so they're stuttering. I just run in with a weapon, start cutting them up, and then run out immediately.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it takes one of Left 4 Dead's biggest downfalls, being a class-based or a non-class-based game, and adding roles to each person.
And it works so well.
Yeah. Left 4 Dead, everyone is the healer, everyone is the DPS, everyone is the tank. Like, everyone has the same skills. This actually works amazingly. Like, it's a good... There's definitely flaws, but it is such an improvement on Left 4 Dead.
I would totally agree. It just, and I was kind of hesitant, too, with the Ranger class, but then it kind of made... Because the Ranger's first ability starts off with that is she self-heals and then gets, like, a zoom-in ability with all of her bows. But so I thought it was kind of weird that she just self-heals since she doesn't take any damage. But the end made a lot of sense because since I'm always in the back, usually not in the front, I can slowly heal. So I would just give up all my medical supplies to everyone else because they can't heal themselves. Like, I never need to use the potion. I'm like, well, this doesn't really... Even if I'm low in health, I'm like, well, I'm just going to heal over time while everyone else is taking the front hit. So I just, like, heal Ben or heal our other friend who plays the heavy, what's a splash damage attack, and because they can't heal themselves, so it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I just never realized how versatile that was until like I really got into the game even more.
Yeah, and Mike is touching on a really cool thing. So aside from having a class-based system, they also do kind of like a Borderlands thing where you have passives, but you also have one active available per class, and it's like the passives, as Mike was talking about, where he gains health, are really cool. But then also, the game is really clean and focused when you're not hitting like a bunch of different buttons. All you have is just one active ability that you can occasionally use. Like they add a lot of complexity and a lot of diversity in the characters, but not make it feel overbearing. I mean, the only thing that they're adding is just, you hit F to like my guy drops a smoke bomb and then he becomes invisible.
Which is freaking amazing.
It's awesome, pretty much. I can if there was one time where my entire team was down and I threw a smoke bomb, no one could find me and I just revived everyone.
Yeah,
like it just...
it was so... It's like one of the most useful things you can have.
Yeah. And it seems like such a joke. I was like, why would my tank class ever need to hide from anyone?
Yeah.
Like, why would I need a smoke bomb? But it's so fucking useful.
Yeah. It worked out so well. I was thinking, like, why shouldn't, like, my ranger should have that, and, like, you should have, like, the self-heal, but then, like, after Rose, like, well, I don't usually take damage all the time, and then it's like, now I can give all this extra, I can carry extra medical supply for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just awesome.
So, okay, we've talked about the pros. I don't really have anything lined up for the cons, but in terms of...
Another thing that's nice about this game, though, before we talk about if we do move on to the cons, what's not good about it.
Sure.
What's cool about this, too, is that, like, so it has the same characters in the first Vermintide, but this time what they added into is that each class from the original has three classes in within themselves. So, like, each class now has a ranger class, sort of like they're actually all unique in their own way.
As they break down, essentially what it comes down to is, of the 5 classes, as Mike was saying, each one has has 3 subclasses. Each of those 3 classes, there's one that's more melee-based, there's one that's more ranged-based, and then the last one I would say is more survivability-based.
I think like the last one's more unique. The last one's always like the unique one, because the Ranger's, her third thing is basically an assassin class, where she gets bonus damage from hitting people from behind, all that stuff, and her special ability is to go cloak and be able to walk through other players and stuff. And it's really cool, and I've noticed that with the other characters too, is that their third one is usually a very unique ability thing of their own. Well, it's not like overpowering than the other ones, it's just kind of like their own unique style of class.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that each other one then it has either a close ranged or a ranged class.
Right.
And the ranger starts off with the ranged class, but then her second one that you could pick when you can is more melee. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I really do like how much they break it down a lot more. The one thing that does kind of suck is that you can't pick which subclass you want to be right away.
Yeah.
For example, you start. I'm a dwarf. You start at level 1. The available level 1 dwarf is the ranger, which is obviously his ranged abilities. The next level, subclass I can pick is more like survivability, like pretty much being that tank in all forms. And that's at level 7, and then the last one you unlock at level 10, which is just pure melee damage. And it sucks that I have to, like, choose... I mean, granted, I'm really liking the range a lot more than I thought I would, but it's frustrating that I have to, like... that you're forced to be that class when they offer so much they offer so much customization. Like, why would they pigeonhole you into one?
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense because, like, the other classes are not better than the first one. They're just different gameplay styles.
Yeah, it's just what you prefer.
Yeah, so it really doesn't make much sense. And it's kind of annoying, too, because you can get weapons for those other classes that your certain classes can't use all the weapons.
Yeah.
But, like, they're only meant for that one character, but it'd be that class to use that weapon, which is, like... that's kind of a bullshit thing because like I'm getting weapons for my class I have to be 21 to be, given though it's not too hard to level up though in the game.
Well, Mike is touching on a really interesting subject here because so when you finish a round you get a loot box and it's pretty much like Overwatch. Like you get 3 things from each box and it tells you like, you know, white is common, green is uncommon, and
the basic stuff.
Yeah, like if you know what loot boxes are, every loot box follows this like color scheme rarity system. So like only certain classes, as Mike said, can use certain weapons. So for example, I'm level 3 and I unlock these pistols, these flintlock pistols for a class that I can't even unlock until I hit level 10.
Yeah.
Well, now these level 2 pistols are going to be totally pointless once I hit level 10 because my gear is going to already be leagues better than it. So, like, why would they offer that? That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. Actually, I didn't even actually think about that at all. That's true. So now, because this game also has a same mode as Diablo 3 has, where you can just take your items all apart and get like pieces from them to build other stuff or to upgrade your current stuff too. So now I'm just gonna take apart all my weapons from my 21 class because they're obviously going to be absolute garbage when I finally be able to use them.
Pretty much what it comes down to is there's no reason to hold on to anything unless you're already using it, because until you unlock those classes, by the time you unlock it, you're already generally gonna find better equipment for that class. So that's the one thing that kind of throws me off, is it offers all this customization, but it just kind of muddies up the system. Sorry, let me rephrase that. They offer all this customization, but you have to jump through loops to unlock it. And they really should just have everything available right off the bat, because then it muddies it up. There's a lot of uselessness.
And it doesn't make any sense either, because there's nothing you can buy to instantly upgrade your characters or anything like that. Everything's earned in throughout the game. And like even on that fan loot boxes, this game does it right because this is only a co-op game only. There's no versus. It's just a Left 4 Dead type of gameplay. So like loot boxes are totally cool and make sense. So, but then why just do this? There's no point in just having these 3 classes locked, because it's super easy to unlock them anyways. And like you say, we're just like wasting these items then for nothing except for just parts. Maybe that's why they did it, so that you would actually have more stuff to break down, and when you finally reset like the level for them unlocked, you have plenty of pieces left to actually upgrade that stuff ready to go then.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of with the reason why I'm doing that, because you can't buy anything in the game. It's like the game is like, once you buy it, everything's there for you to use, which is awesome.
Well, we'll see what happens. Not that I'm promoting this idea, but it is still the beta. There might be they might open up like an auction system where you can buy items later on. I mean,
I hope not.
Like I said, I'm not promoting this idea, but I'm not ready to say that the beta is the all encompassing end game or release game that they're going to make. So another thing that I really am a little flustered about the game is I don't really like the user interface. I think that when you go into menus, I mean, the Forge in itself, there's 7 different pages you can choose from. One's to like upgrade your stuff, one's to
there's a skill tree in the Forge where, because as you level up, Like level 5, there's 3 passives you can pick. Level 10 has 3 passives you can pick, and you can switch those out anytime you want to, which is cool.
But the like when you salvage stuff, it has 7 different tabs for like here's where you salvage, here's where you can make things from the scrap that you create, here's where you can upgrade that stuff, here's where you can take items away, or abilities away from that. Like I think it's done really not too glamorously, and this is nitpicking. I mean, we've talked a shit ton of praise about this game, but I wish that was one thing that changed. And then the last thing, which I think is the most important to me in terms of like where I think the game has a little bit of a downfall, is why can't you choose to be the same class? Like if I wanted to be a ranger and Mike wanted to be a ranger, only one of us can be a ranger. You have to be separate classes. I agree that in a class-based game it's good to diversify, but if I wanted to fuck around with Mike, like if we just wanted to go ham, and like he's a dwarf, I'm a dwarf, everyone's a dwarf, and then like we just fucking like tank through it, everyone pushing, monsters away with our shields, like why shouldn't we be able to do that? It's annoying to me that this game forces you to be 4 of the 5 classes every time. Like it seems like it has all this versatility, and then it limits it to you have to pick 4 out of the 5 available classes.
Yeah, because like they even brag about too how many like different characters there are, but in the end you can't be them at the same. Yeah, it's a sad thing because it'd be cool, like you said, it'd be cool if we can build with the Rangers, but we can both be separate classes in that. Because they look all totally different.
And they have totally different abilities. They use different weapons. Like the only reason that they have for us not being able to use that same class is simply because that's the ranger class. There's no.
Yet the thing is though that there's a dwarf class literally called the ranger class.
Yeah, and so it's weird. It's weird that they don't offer up that much customization in team building.
Yeah.
When they offer so much customization in character building. I mean, you would think that there would be no problem with overlap there, but I guess that there is.
I don't really see any reason at all because, like we said, there's the mercenary that has he has a class called the huntsman, where he just has a rifle and all that stuff too, and like every character has like so I don't know why that would be the deal is. And once again, it's not a really seriously toned game. I mean, there is a serious tone to it, but I don't think it would really break the world's, reality if we all came in as the same, like, character with different classes.
Yeah, and so, like, I'm raising up a dwarf, Mike's raising up a ranger. Is it called ranger or assassin? Or
she's called the Waywalker, I believe.
Okay.
Something weird name. It's like Waywalker or something like that.
Well, we'll just for the sake of having consistency, we'll call it the Waywalker then.
Yeah.
So Mike's the Waywalker, I'm the dwarf. We've got a friend that's a bright wizard who's essentially like the mage class.
Yeah, like who just uses fire though, and she's just like a fire mage in the end.
Yeah, like I'd be lying if I said that I never wanted to play the bright wizard. The bright wizard looks fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
But pretty much because you level one class at a time, I can't casually level a bright wizard while my friend is playing bright wizard. Like one of us has to choose, and when it comes down to brass tacks, he's going to be the higher level bright wizard, and I'm going to be the level 1 with no gear. Like, he's always going to... If I'm ever going to play with him, he's always going to be the bright wizard. So that's frustrating. Like, I wish that both of us could be the bright wizard.
No, yeah. That's what sucks. And I totally... Hopefully, they might fix something, because once again, it's still in the last of its stage, and hopefully they actually come with something where we can do that in the end.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but I really do wish that you can have the same character multiple times on a team. Like that, it sounds it's stupid, but it is important to me. Like I got kind of thrown into the dwarf class because everyone else kind of chose the ones that they wanted to be, and I love dwarf class now. It's great, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to occasionally try another class. Like it's so yeah, it's a good game. There are some issues, but they're not like the game is $30 on release. That is more.
Oh my, you're gonna get your money's worth.
Yeah,
you get your money's worth right off the bat with that game.
It's good. That's more than reasonable to ask for, but definitely for a class-based game, they like limit themselves. It's really weird.
And it's cool too because they have mini bosses in the game and all that stuff, and they're never the same mini boss they run into. They actually have a huge list of different mini bosses, and doesn't matter how many times you do the level, it's always gonna be random what type of mini boss they throw at you and all that stuff. and they're all very well designed characters too, at least in my mind.
Yeah, so this is really cool too. So like the type of bosses that they throw at you, I would almost consider some are like mini bosses and some are micro bosses. So there are bosses that are like, so like the rats, the Skaven, some of them just come at you with spears, but then there's some that have like shields, and then there's some that have helmets. Like there's diversity
and
in
there's
like
some with like metal shields, which I can never get through.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous. Which I need like someone else to come up and to really break their guards so I can finally hit them.
Yeah, and so like for a horde type of game, there's actually quite a bit of diversity.
Oh yeah.
As we said, some guys have armor, like, oh, okay, he's wearing a helmet, so like a headshot's not gonna work on him, or like I'll have to hit him twice before he gets knocked out. Some guys have shield where you've got to break their shield. On the next level of like bosses or difficulty, then you've got the pretty much like in Left 4 Dead, they had like the screamer, the tank,
yeah.
like there's like those ones that would occasionally appear.
There's like there's the assassin, which there's just this Skaven that just jumps on you with these blades and just like holds you down. And then there's the hook rat, which he just grabs you and just pulls you away from the fight, and you can't do anything. Someone has to assist you. Then there's the Gatling gun rat, which is just a long-range rat with a high-powered Gatling gun that shoots you from a distance.
Yep, there's the gas rat.
There's the gas rat, and then there's also the poison rat, which just throws poison vials and just makes these gas explosions in the battlefield, which is cool because it actually hurts the barbarian characters too, which I saw. Because it doesn't hurt the Skaven rats because like they're basically born in poison, but because they're working with these human barbarians, if the human barbarians go into the poison cloud, they actually start stumbling in and they start coughing all that in it.
Sweet.
Yeah, which I didn't realize until like I saw from the distance, like, oh, you motherfuckers' shields aren't up. Just shooting the headshots, the bows and stuff, which is pretty cool because like even with the wooden shields and stuff, like if I shoot them directly head on and they're coming at me with a shield, they will literally just reflect my arrows with their shields. They actually are really effective with their shields, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And if they have metal ones, I'm just fucked. Like I can't do anything to them. I can't break it. I can't like get through them. And so I'm like, all right, someone needs to come over and help me here because I'm gonna get fucked. Which I really liked about the game too. And so it's like, in Left 4 Dead, you just gun down a horde of zombies. You just shoot everything. But in this one, though, you actually have to look into the battlefield and see who's coming at you and know how to react. Because, like, in that horde of rats coming towards you, it can be heavily armored ones. So if you're just swinging away, you're just going to clash with a shield, and then you're going to stumble backwards, and the rest of the rats are going to just jump on you and just, like, tear you a new one. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool that you actually have to really focus on the battlefield and what's going on, which adds a nice challenge to it.
Yeah. So those are like the mid-level bosses essentially. Yeah. So guys with shields and armor. Then there's like these specialty like class-based enemies essentially.
Yeah. Mostly only in the Skavens side have like really like the unique ones. The barbarians just get like bigger, beefier guys they're just heavily armored people.
Yeah. And then like the top tier bosses are like they get a health bar. They can also appear randomly, but there's like 3 different ones that show up at any given time. And sometimes they don't show up at all either.
Yeah.
But like they show up, they have a health bar, like you're alerted of their presence essentially. And they're like big and hulking and you can tell when they show up.
Yeah, you can't miss them.
But I really like how much, I mean, for a horde-based game, like Left 4 Dead tried to add some diversity in it, but I mean,
like they only had one mini boss, which was the tank, which they do have in Vermintide 2, which is on the Skaven side, which is just this big hulking rat, which is the size of the tank in Left 4 Dead 2. But ever since they added the barbarians to them, they added one of the new mini bosses is this grotesque creature with like this
arms and legs sticking out of it.
Yeah,
and stuff.
It's like it's a giant like weird face, and then like its left arm is just a giant tongue, which grabs you and all that stuff, and then like he eats your head and then slams you in the ground and just tosses you away.
Yeah.
And then the hardest one for me at least is the troll monster. Did you ever face the troll monster?
Is that the one where the guy's on his back?
No, that one is the one that spits his bile at you, which blinds you, and then like he has like stages of health where you get him to a point of health, he goes down, then regains health a little bit of portion of his health, gets back up, and you keep on doing this until he's finally dead. Did you ever run to that one yet?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he's like the toughest one because he just takes so much hits.
Yeah.
But yeah, we forgot about that other thing too, the mechanical slash biomechanical rat thing that has like 2 flamethrowers and stuff.
Yeah, that one, I don't like that one.
That one is pretty cool looking because like you can either shoot it in its head or you can shoot it like in the back because there's like this little shriveled up rat that has this helmet that's controlling it, which is like pretty kind of cool style.
Yeah, it's grotesque and really cool. They did a lot of cool. They had a lot of awesome ideas for just like this rat army.
Yeah, they definitely added way more to it, which I appreciate. And the details of their air with all the enemies they are facing are really good too. It's even with the basic units, it's awesome.
Yeah. One last criticism I want to say about the game, and then we can move on because we've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah.
But one last criticism is that I don't feel like granted, it's hard to take this game. It is a AAA game, but it's not like Blizzard rank AAA, so it's hard to relate the two. But I do wish, like, if I was gonna claim the game was like perfect, it would have to have more variety in weapons. I always think to Diablo, and like weapons didn't just add more damage; they gave you like this weapon gives you an aura, and now like you have like a small like shield booster on enemies in your aura or something, or like this weapon makes you hit like 2 times faster, or this one gives you like this passive ability is always active now. Like I wish that the weapons did more than just like basic damage or like basic percentage increases of like plus 10% to block or something.
Well, I do like there's some that do more damage to scavens and stuff too, and then like I've actually come across poison weapons too now, which is cool.
Yeah, well, I mean we'll see. Like
because I actually have like a poison bow now if I want to use it, which is cool.
Sure, I just like Diablo. They have what is it like 16 levels of the hardest of torment.
Yeah.
Like in total difficulty levels, I think Diablo has 20 levels, including easy, normal, hard, etc., etc. Like the thing that kind of stinks about Vermintide is I wonder how long I'm going to play it because it's only got 3 levels of difficulty. So pretty much once we get to that top tier level, which I mean it'll take a while, but it won't be like Diablo levels of intense. Like, once you hit that, you're going to hit that wall of, like, now what do I do?
I wonder how many levels they're going to have in the game, because right now they only have 1 campaign you can play right now, which is 4 levels. Given they are long, though. Each level is long.
Yeah, so being in the closed beta, not all the levels are unlocked.
I'm just hoping there's going to be a lot of campaigns, though, in the game.
Yep, I'm thinking there'll probably be... You know, I'm not going to make a guess. There's no reason to give anyone false information. So that's been Vermintide. Obviously, it's... I like it a lot. I think it's worth the money. I hate to talk praise about a game and not explain why I think, like, where its shortcomings are, but everything that we've said, I think, is totally shadowed by how much fun the game has been. I think it's totally worth $30. Moving on for the rest of my week, I played Doom, the 2016 one. Yep, I've been getting through that. I'm about halfway through.
What do you think of it so far?
I think the game started out awesomely, where it just gets you a gun, you get moving right away. That's great. There was like a moment, like if I was gonna break it down, after the first 30 minutes, where it was kind of like leading you through and things were easy. Like once you start to get into the feel of games, after the first 30 minutes, it's like, wow, I wish I had more of an arsenal. And then up to like maybe like the second hour of playing, there's that part where you're like, I've got, 2 or 3 weapons. I wish I just had like, a fuck ton of guns to pick from and just like demolish with. That it kind of felt a little slow. I mean, one of my guns was a pistol, the other one was a shotgun, and then my last one I like had never any ammo for, so I was like, God damn it. But like once you start unlocking the abilities, once you get more guns, once ammo doesn't become so difficult to find. Like all I did a challenge that unlocked like I get more ammo when I kill a guy or something like that.
Yeah, if you do finishing moves on them, they drop ammo.
Yeah. And so once I started working towards that ability, the game is great now. Like it doesn't have any there's no like stopping in it. It's all just as hard and fast as you can go. But before, like I said, between that first 30 minutes and 2 hours of playing, there were moments where I was like, I've got to retreat from this fight. I don't have any ammo, and like that kind of threw me off.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. I never ran into that issue actually myself.
I kept running out of all ammo. I mean,
were you doing a lot of finisher moves?
Yeah.
Oh. Huh.
Well, the finishing moves give you health. When you pull out the chainsaw, that gives you ammo.
Oh, that's yeah.
But the chainsaw you can only use like twice before you got to get gas for it. So I mean, it's only like an hour and a half point. Obviously the game campaign's like 8 hours
There's
long.
a lot more weapons to get to in the game.
Yeah, and now that I'm halfway through, I mean, I've got no issues at all. But I will say that people always give this game praise, and so that's why I'm giving it a little harder time, because I feel like if I just said 2 years later, like, oh, the game is great, it's awesome, try it. Like, you've heard that before.
Yeah.
So it's not like I hate the game or anything. I'm just trying to give a new perspective.
No, you just want to be
an
asshole about it. That's
exactly,
totally
exactly. Fuck the police. No. No. So I mean, the game definitely worth it. I think it's awesome. I will just say though that there was that moment where I wish that the basic pistol. I don't know if I'm just like playing wrong. Pretty much, I didn't upgrade anything for a while until I was like, I want this gun and I want to be able to upgrade it immediately.
I see.
So like, the basic pist I almost never use because it just feels like bullshit.
Need to upgrade it. Yeah, it's a bullshit weapon.
So even though you have infinite ammo for it, whenever I ran out of shotgun ammo, then I had to retreat and I was like, I need more ammo. So maybe I just should have been sticking with the pistol a little more at the beginning. But there were just a couple moments where I was
just
like...
run up and punch him a lot if I ran out of ammo in the beginning. I was like, fuck this shit.
The other thing, too, is I'm playing on... Not that the hardest difficulty is unlocked when you first start playing, but I'm playing on the hardest available difficulty right off the bat.
Yeah.
So that was another thing, too, is like obviously learning the game when they start to ramp up the difficulty when you don't have a lot of weapons. Another reason why, like, I'm a shitty shot and I miss a couple times,
You get used to it, and then you get to the point where you can just run out and start punching them in the faces pretty easily.
And that's kind of where I'm at right now, and the game is awesome. I mean, now that it's full-fledged, now that it's like full-on, like, welcome to hell, everything's on fire, and you've got 9 guns to kill everything with, like... I love the game. It's great.
Yeah.
But
my favorite part of the game is the beginning when it says like you're the spawn of evil, just kill everything. I'm like, yes. And so this is what I did. I was never afraid in that game. I just went ham on everything.
Dude, I don't even know the story, which is great because they only give you like 30 seconds worth of narrative before they're like, here's a gun,
Yeah, I just love it. I just love the narrative. Like, you are Satan himself. Just kill everything. You're the spawn of just death. I just love that beginning. That's what I did. I just went ham on everything. I just didn't care. I ran up to everyone. Didn't care how big they were. It's like, I'm gonna fuck your shit up. I just love that part of the game.
Yeah.
It's just a great power. I forget what the people call it is. Oh, just being a total badass. Just being the ultimate thing.
Power trip.
Power trip. This is the best power trip I ever had playing a game. It was Doom.
It's great. I really like. I just got the chain lightning gun or whatever, where you just shoot and it's like. And then like it takes a while to like cool down or whatever, but oh my god.
Oh, is it the arc cannon or is it the BFG?
It's not the BFG.
Okay, so it's the arc cannon. Yeah, that gun is awesome.
I got it where I can zoom in now, and like that's before you and I started playing Vermintide. Like I had just unlocked the zoom in charge shot, and that's like you were like, let's play Vermintide. And I was like, 1 second, and immediately after I did that, I unlocked it. A big guy came up and it was like, and he just like fucked the guy, like complete headshot, like annihilated.
Yeah, it was great. I love that gun. It's great for boss fights too. It's like you just pull that, it kills everything instantly. It doesn't matter who they are.
Yep. So no, I've been enjoying Doom. Honestly, out of any game that I've played this week, as fun as PUBG has been, as fun as Vermintide has been, that's the one game that like having a clear goal, having levels, like having. People always give shit about linear storylines, but it pushes you to go from one thing to the next. Like Doom is the game that when we finish up this podcast, that's the thing I'm going to be playing right after. As great as all the other games on this list are, like that's the one that I'm like, okay, more Doom time today.
It's one of those games that does it well. I'm like, yes, it's linear, but since it's linear, they make sure that everything's perfect. Like they make sure like all the little secrets are fun secrets. The enemies are awesome. The weapons are great, and And so there's nothing wrong for a game being linear, but if you're gonna be linear, you got to really just up your shit though. Make it really good.
Yeah.
I think Doom did a fantastic job on it. Because you have like these vast open worlds, and sure they're vast and open, but a lot of times they can just have a lot of bullshit in it.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, this honestly, the next thing I say could turn into like I'm not going to make it become a 30-minute rant. I'm just saying it could be. But I just want to quickly say, whatever happened to the double jump? Because they bring back the double jump in Doom 2016, and it's like the best. Whoever got rid of the double jump is a retard. It is the best mechanic any game has ever offered. Double jump is the greatest.
It is a nice, it's just so much better.
We should have an entire part in some podcast moving forward about mechanics that went out of style.
Yeah.
That should totally make a resurgence. Double jump is number 1, 100%. All right, so
I have one thing too about something that you bring back, and that one of those is like allowing you to choose, like when you go into online play, the ability to choose the level you want to fucking play instead of just doing random levels every bloody time.
Yeah.
I miss that.
Yeah,
that's the one thing I miss the most. It's like, what the fuck happened to that? You know, if you're worried about people not playing a map, then don't make a shitty map. All right, make a good map that everyone wants to play.
Sure.
It's like nowadays, it's like, oh no, it has to be randomized and all that. I'm like, motherfucker, please. But,
yeah, I can get that.
It just really pisses me off nowadays, especially with PUBG. It's like some days I want to do the new level, and sometimes I want to do the old level. It's like, just let me to do it. I'm pretty sure with how many people are playing PUBG, I'm not going to have an issue finding a group of people to play with.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially if there's only 2 levels.
Yeah, no, I get you there, bud. Moving on. I also played The End Is Nigh. So this is a game that the guy from the creator of Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac made. The End Is Nigh. It pretty much plays out.
Oh, you play as a black blob, don't you?
Yeah. So
Okay,
pretty
I know
much.
what you're talking about.
I think that they call it like you're a tumor or something. You're like a living.
What?
Yeah. So like that's what you gotta collect are tumors, and they're essentially you, but just like not living.
That's funny.
But so pretty much the game is a platformer. It's 2D. If you've ever played Super Meat Boy, which is like probably the most famous indie game that's ever been released.
Speedrunner / platformer game.
Yep, the difference between Meat Boy and The End Is Nigh is that instead of wall jumping and wall sliding, The End Is Nigh, you grab onto ledges. And I gotta say, the game, it holds a certain standard for just like Super Meat Boy, obviously, like the creator Edmund McMullen and the rest of the team, they do a good job with making these games. So before I say anything bad about it, I just want you to know it's like a Mario game. Like it's already met a certain standard of quality.
Yeah, so it's good.
So to kind of skip over that and just get to the important part here, just so my "How was your week?" segment doesn't take the entire 2 hours, because I feel like it's turning into that.
It's a good conversation.
The End Is Nigh. Honestly, it's hard to stand up to Super Meat Boy. It's fantastic for a reason, and the wall sliding, the wall jumping in Super Meat Boy was great. I really don't like, in comparison, I really don't like the edge hanging in End Is Nigh. It's
kind of slow. It slows down the pace a bit.
No, so pretty much there's 2 ways to jump off of a ledge. If you just hit the jump button, you're gonna jump straight up. But if you press the direction away from the ledge, your guy jumps more horizontally than vertically. And when you're running through a level, it might not seem like a huge shift, but like if you want to jump up and then jump over, like if you hit over early before the jump, your guy just like slams into the other side of the wall and like falls and dies. Like there's a lot of
it's kind of like clunky.
Yeah. I've noticed that I've made some really stupid jumps that have totally screwed me over, even though I'm playing as good as I can. Like, and this is nothing about like, oh, Ben, you're just a shitty gamer. Like, it sucks that the smallest shift in analog stick from not touching it to like having it over completely modifies your jump. And so that's kind of frustrating. The other thing, too, is I just don't think it's as fluid. Meat Boy, you're running as fast as you can. You hit a wall. You slide, like, super high up that wall. You jump to the other one. This one, it's like, get to an edge, climb onto the edge, jump across. Like, it doesn't feel as fluid.
Right.
It feels a lot more, like you have to calculate a level a lot more. Versus Meat Boy, it was very rhythmic. If the level started and you were already holding to the right, like, there was a rhythm to... You know, you jump here, and if you jump there, like, you land right on this ledge here, and then you keep that momentum and you keep moving. This game, there's a lot of momentum breaking, I've noticed.
Right,
is probably
so
a good
this
way to
one
put
you
it.
have to... Meat Boy, you, like, praise you for just hitting you, just going full blown,
Exactly.
And not slowing down. Well, then 9 sounds like you really need to be meticulous of your choice and all that stuff. So there's a lot of times where you have to be slow and mechanical with it.
Yeah, Meat Boy was a lot more improvised, where something comes up, you manage with it, and then the level was designed.
Fast reaction stuff.
Yeah, and the level was designed to expect you to like jump at that point, and then here's a platform specifically for when you jump there. The End is Nigh. It doesn't have that much. The levels I don't feel are as well thought out. It feels like calculated, where you gotta like stop, hang off the edge, jump, 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 and then like go over here, get on the edge. It doesn't feel as fluid. So the game is good. It holds to a certain standard, but I don't think it holds a candle to Super Meat Boy. And then last thing is I did play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild a little bit. I didn't do much. The reason I saved it for last here is just because honestly, I don't have too much to report on it. I just got a little further. That's it.
Yeah. That's funny.
In terms of movies, I watched Handmaid's Tale, a couple more episodes. It's kind of losing me. I can't get... how's the right way to put it? I can't, like, imagine that universe. After we were talking about it last episode, how it's like women are... They're not able to give birth as easily, so women that are fertile or like can give birth, they're seen as like slaves essentially.
Yeah.
And Mike and I, in our last episode, we were saying like, well, those women shouldn't be slaves. They should be like royalty. They should be treated awesomely. Once Mike brought that up, I was watching the last couple episodes and I was like, God, this idea seems so far-fetched now. Like, why would anyone do this? The universe is too unbelievable for me now.
Because, like, even in today's world, there's women like that. Because there's some families that can't have kids, so they hire people to do that for them. And they're never treated like shit most of the time. Unless they're, like, some weird case where they're, an illegal alien or something like that, so they get taken advantage of. But most of the time, they're treated very well. They're actually compensated for everything. It's not like, oh, you're my bitch now. That's never really a story that you hear a lot of. Most of the time it's the opposite, where the person that is who's the birther, usually ends up keeping the damn child in the end. It has like all the rights. So it's kind of like, yeah, so that's the reason why I couldn't get into that either. It didn't make much sense. Sorry for ruining it for you. I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine. It kind of opened my eyes there. So I was like really into it. There's 10 episodes. I'm on to number 7. And you would think that there's this progression of like, it's going to build on itself. It's going to get like high, like as you go from one episode to another, the tension's going to raise and raise and raise. You're going to get more and more interested. Honestly, it kind of fell off. Like the more that I learned about this world, the more unbelievable it felt. And I only have so much suspension of disbelief before I just completely tune it out. And it kind of hit that point. What I did pick up recently, though, is The Orville, which is that show with Seth MacFarlane. It's kind of like Star Trek-y.
Oh, okay, the one that we just saw before we started.
Yeah, so I had an episode on before we started doing the podcast here, and that show, the more I see about that universe, the more and more I like it, honestly.
Yeah. Like I saw in the trailers and all that stuff. I saw commercials for it, and I thought it was gonna be like pure just comedic effect, but it's actually, like you said, there's some actually serious tone. It's actually a pretty serious show. Not super serious, but it has a very Star Trek vibe to it, which I like a lot.
Yeah, the things so pretty much think of it. It kind of sucks to say this. The same way that Vermintide is pretty much a copy paste of Left 4 Dead, but Orville is pretty much a copy paste of Star Trek. But the thing is it changes enough that it keeps the same formula, but it brings in fresh ideas.
Yeah, it adds to it. It doesn't just copy it and it's like, oh, here you go, just another copy and paste.
Yeah.
No, they actually add stuff. They make changes and make it better, or give you something new.
So what Orville does is they use their comedy as a way of like how the characters kind of talk with each other. Like they talk more realistically to each other. Like I know that Star Trek, obviously back in the day, like scripted shows. Like, there's the whole reason why people don't like sitcoms anymore is because they feel very scripted. Like, if Star Trek came out these days, you'd look at an episode and be like, wow, no one talks like this. The Orville, they use their humor in the same sense that someone's like, the way that they talk to each other is the funny part. It's not like the funny part is in the plot. Like, they kept all the great plot points of Star Trek where they talk about, like, gender equality. They talk about, like, human and civil rights. They talk about all these other things. And so, like, the idea of the show, in its essence, is pretty much the exact same as Star Trek, but what they do is that they add in the human element of, like, if real people were talking about this. And so they don't use their humor too much, but at some points they'll go meet a species and the species will like give them the middle finger and they'll be like, oh, this is how we say hey or something. And I mean, that's a stupid example.
Yeah.
But pretty much, like, the humor in it isn't just like, oh, they do the middle finger now. It's pretty much like they'll talk to each other like, do we flip them off back or something? Like it's not like slapstick. Like I said, it's just like one or two comments here or there where they're just like, okay, I guess we're flipping these guys off now, you know?
Yeah, like they were like average Joe people or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of cool about it. The first episode, the pilot, pushes the humor a little much, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's a fucking show marketed by Seth, or with the main actor being Seth MacFarlane. Like, of course they were going to do that. Make it through the first episode, just start the second one, and if you're not hooked, then, I mean, it's probably not for you, but the second episode's leagues better.
I think the Star Trek actually had the same thing with their first episode. It was completely different just to get the pilot, and then they just changed it up then so they actually fit it.
That's always how the pilot works, though, is like they try to make it seem like this, oh, we're so funny, and it also, like, the graphics are so intense, and, like, it tries to be so fantastic that it kind of becomes unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, I can't really get engrossed in this world, but each episode is really good. It works on top of each other.
I'll look into it. I'm guessing that's on Hulu?
Yeah, so, I mean, we'll see, but, I don't know, Hulu, if I remember correctly, a subscription for, I mean, with the ads, is $5 per month. It's not the worst deal, but either way, I mean, I'll
just look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck, if it comes to it, just ask Chris for his Hulu account and we can all share. So that was my week. Sorry that took forever, but
no, that's good.
A lot of stuff to talk about.
Good conversation.
Yeah. We can get into the top 5 unless you had anything else.
No, that was good. No, yeah, we can just hop right over to the top 5.
Yeah. May as well keep it content-driven episode. I mean,
yeah. You started last time, so I'm starting this one. This top 5 is top 5 driving games.
Yep.
We did driving instead of racing because I don't play many racing games as much, and I'm pretty sure Ben doesn't either.
Yeah, same. There's like 1 or 2 on here, but I would almost consider it like alternate driving games or so, where racing, I mean, it's hard to have a driving game without racing, but the idea is that they added some elements in it that make it more interesting.
Given though I do have a lot of racing games in here, but I wouldn't be able to make a full 5 list.
Yeah.
With just racing games.
It's like the difference between Gran Turismo and like Mario Kart. Like at the end of the day, Mario Kart like is a racing game, but it's you know, the spectrum is so wide in between that. So yeah, it's not like most realistic racing game or anything like that. These are just alternate driving games is how I define them. So, Mike, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Driver. Just had a lot of fun playing that with you and everyone else. It was a great concept. And it's someone... since there's going to be an honorable mention, I guess I might as well bring it up either too as well. There is this one... the reason why Driver's also on here for me as well is, like, one, it's a great game. I had so much fun playing that with you and everyone else. It was stupid fun. But I couldn't find this one racing game where you play as the cop. And it was one that I never played with you, and it was kind of a sad thing. I could never find it. I researched as much as I could find it with, but even Google couldn't help me. But it's when you play as the cop, and you have like all the cop arsenals and stuff, where you can throw down spikes and all that stuff, and roadways stuff, and get call and assistance.
What console was this? Because it sounds like it's Need for Speed Hot Pursuit.
Okay, was that it? Because it was like a PS2 mod. It was a PS2 game.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Okay.
I can show you as you're talking here.
But yeah, so it's like, and that was going to be on my honorable mention, but I didn't have the heart to put on a game I couldn't fully remember the name of, or I couldn't find it. So that's why, you know what? That looks, if we can get like an image of it.
So it pretty much, sorry, we're looking it up on Google right now. We should give some visual aid here. I'm showing Mike. So in Need for Speed, you play as the cops and the robbers, and then you.
Okay, yeah, I think that's it then. Yep. And I absolutely love that game. So I guess like Driver would be an honorable mention, but yeah, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2 was just an awesome concept to be able to play as the cop and chase down a car and all, like, you know, and then actually use all the police materials and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And in fact, number 5 is really not only for Hot Pursuit, but Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. But it's also for any other type of racing game where you can, like any driving game where you can play as the cop and do exactly the same thing too. Because I remember there's this other one where it's more futuristic, and you got the chance to. It was more futuristic stuff. You had like jamming rays and all that, chasing down people.
Yeah.
And those are just super fun to do.
So, I mean, this isn't a tangent because we're talking about it.
Yeah.
But Mike, so they made Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 1 and 2 for the PlayStation 2, and then they reimagined the game for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Like, what I'm showing Mike right now is this game, Hot Pursuit, the remake, is on Steam. It was one of my favorite PS3 games. It's a fantastic driving game where you play both, you know, the racer and the cop. And I mean,
wasn't this also the moment when he came on the joke? He's like, "Do you know why I pulled you over, sir?"
Yeah, that's the joke where, you know, you're the cop, you're chasing after the robber, you like shoot him with an EMP and you plow into him, and he goes flying off the road, flipping, and then you walk up to him and you're like, you know how fast you were going?
And the car's upside down on fire. The guy's like, "Oh my god, an ambulance, kill me!" You also had a brake light out too.
I'm gonna write you up with a warning.
The game is just so fun. You're just this cop, but you just demolish these fucking cars off the road.
Yeah.
And we're just laughing our ass off because we just imagine just a cop that's just walking up to this total wreck of a car. The person's dead. It's like, the person's, you know why I pulled you? All right. You had a broken light in the back. That's gonna be $25.
We'll see you in court. Sorry, this is kind of a tangent, but essentially, yeah, the joke being is like that for a speeder, it is such an abusive power in this game for a cop to like use spike strips and like EMTs and like smashing into speeders to like slow them down. That there's no way that you can have a civil conversation by the time you actually get into the side of the road.
And like, there's no like penalties either for just totally wrecking them. There's like no peaceful pullover. You just have to destroy them to make them stop. And just to kill them. Just make sure their car just no longer runs anymore.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter about the safety of the driver. It's like, fuck that and everyone else. You just have to get this guy.
It was the funniest. I mean, those are the best kinds of games where it doesn't. You don't even try to make it work in terms of an explanation or plot. Like, it's just funny.
Just get that motherfucker and make him pay for speeding.
It's gonna be $25.
Yeah, so that's like my number 5 is that, and like any type, because I played so many different ones and I love them all. But like it's on the bottom though because there's only so much you can do with those games in the end, and most of the time they're really just best single player too. But that's like titled and like, and I'm putting then. Thank you for looking up and finding that for me too. So then Driver is like an honorable mention. Great game though, super fun. I had a blast playing with it, and I'm pretty sure it's on your list, so I'm not gonna go too much on to it.
It's actually not.
Oh wow, it's not.
But okay. I will explain why. I've got a really good set of games. I mean, driving. It's like saying best action game or best adventure game. As much as I really love Driver, I could easily think of 5 games that I've had more fun with. Driver was fun because we forced it to be fun.
Yeah.
Driver was fun because it was excruciatingly painful.
Yeah. And there's like, it was like, the physics in that game were just stupid as hell.
Yeah.
So how things flew and all that stuff.
We should mention, if you're unfamiliar, like Driver is a game that came out for PlayStation 1. Mm-hmm. And driving games on the PlayStation 1, especially ones that dealt with like collision. I mean, these aren't just like basic driving games. Like the game was literally to smash up cars or like to not take damage or whatever. The physics and the police, like all the coding in it was just horrifyingly like just designed, and it made for a hilarious game.
Oh yeah.
So that's what we're describing right now. So that's your number 5, Mike. What was your number 4?
My number 4 is Mario Kart. There's not really much to say, but we talked about Mario Kart before. It's Mario Kart. It's a great party game. It's great to have fun with everyone around. It's not high on there because I never really had much fun playing it by myself though. So it's kind of just like, that's why it's on number 4. Mm-hmm. Like I'd like to say more about Mario Kart, but like how many other past podcasts have we talked about freaking Mario Kart?
Yeah, I mean everyone already knows the pros and cons of it.
My number 3 is Burnout. Burnout was like one of my top favorite racing games. I just love playing all the time. It just had a great mechanic where you got bonus for destroying other cars. You get speed boost. It was fast paced, and the graphics of the destruction thing in it was freaking amazingly well done too. Just destroying other cars and slowing down. You got to see the wreck that you cause and all that stuff.
Yeah. So you're talking about. I think that. Is it the Burnout that I have, or is it another one?
I think so. It's not Burnout Paradise. I do not like Burnout Paradise. Yeah, the latest one. It was bad. And that's why it's not on the higher... This is why other games beat it, too. Because, like, there's only a few versions of Burnout I actually like. But even still, though, I was just like nonstop obsessed with that game too.
So yeah, the one that Mike's talking about then is I've got this on my list, but I'll talk about it when I get there. But Burnout 3, Burnout 3 Takedown.
Yeah, that was my favorite one too, and I had my own copy of that as well, and that game was just good. It was super fun. The destruction was great. The racing with the controls were really tight with it. It was easy to drive, but there's still like some like skill, to drive around, especially dealing with other components too. And it was great to just like you get bonuses destroying your other teammates to get extra speed boost. And even when you got wrecked, you can still be able to come back in the race, which was actually a really nice feature in the game. It's like even if you got wrecked, you weren't totally out of the race. Unless I think you even got like wrecked. What was it, like 4 times? Then you were out, I believe.
Yeah, you can only get wrecked a certain amount of times before it like. It's not a game where you had like an infinite amount of lives,
Yeah. And then the next one, so yeah, that's my number 3. Then is Burnout. So to start over, it was Hot Pursuit, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, Mario Kart, and then Burnout.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually doing a little bit of reorganizing here.
I did a little bit of that myself too.
I was thinking about it as you were talking. There's certain things. We've got a little bit of overlap with our lists once again, but as you were talking, some things stuck out. I've decided in the last 5 seconds, I've decided that soundtrack is really important to a driving game. There's something that really makes a good game with a good soundtrack, especially when driving. Like, it puts you in the right mindset of just like go hard. And I'll get to it when I get to it. Anyway, number 5 for me is Rocket League. Love fucking Rocket League. Unbelievable game.
That's your number 5?
Yep. If you're unfamiliar with Rocket League, it is a 3 versus 3 soccer game with cars. I mean, to go into any more description would be to brutalize it.
Yeah. Or
to bastardize it. But yeah, it's a really fun game. It's really fast. The customization is exactly where it needs to be. It's you unlock a ton of free accessories and car decals and styles, and like I don't ever feel like I'm paying to win in that game or paying to like accessorize it. They just give you a fuck ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And they just saturate the market, or they just like saturate your library of accessories to the point where even if there was like exclusive skins for your cars or exclusive accessories to put on your cars, I don't ever feel like I'm losing out by not having those.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rocket League is great. Number 5, I think it's fantastic. This next game, so Rocket League is for all current consoles and PC, by the way. I feel like that's important because pretty much this list can span, from current generation to like the first generation ever made.
Yeah.
So I'm going to list out consoles for each one too. Okay. The 4th one, which in my group of friends, this is kind of considered a joke game, but I legitimately love this game. My number 4 is Stuntman for PlayStation 2.
Yeah. You love playing that fucking game so much.
Everyone hates this game because it's hard, but I love it because it's hard. Stuntman is a game where you play as a stunt driver, and they tell you with like half of a second to think about it, like, smash through these barrels, go through this alleyway, jump between the trains or something crazy. And like you drive and you kind of like make the shots for a quote unquote movie in this game. But what's really cool about it is that it's kind of like I feel like everyone says like, oh, it's the Dark Souls of this genre or that genre. And this isn't the Dark Souls of driving or anything, but the point is that you learn through repetition. If you play a level the first time, 100% you're going to lose. Same thing with Dark Souls. If you play a Dark Souls monster the first time, 100% you're going to lose. You're never going to just like first time a monster.
For sure.
Same thing with Stuntman. I really like that the game is fast and to the action. Each level, if you broke it down from start to finish, probably takes like 3 minutes to beat each level. It's not a ton of time, but there's so much repetition in the game, and it's just nonstop action. It cuts out all the fat. Pretty much you start, you're immediately in it, and then it's just boom, 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 like for 3 minutes. So that's why I love Stuntman. It's just, it just cuts out all the bullshit, essentially. And I think that that's a big deal for driving games. There's so much downtime in driving games that, I mean, I just like to be, constantly entertained. So that was for PlayStation 2. Another game for PlayStation 2, my number 3, as Mike mentioned this before, is Burnout 3. And Mike, that was also your number 3, but this game, it's just a quality, it's an awesome game. I had Burnout 3 at number 4. Before, as I said, I shifted my list. I put it above Stuntman because I just remembered the soundtrack in this game. Unfreaking believable. I mean, I can only think of like 3 or 4 soundtracks that had a better soundtrack than this game. And I mean, we're thinking like, when I say better soundtracks, I'm thinking like Final Fantasy. I'm thinking like original scores for games. This game had actual, rock music, and it wasn't like an original score. It's not like they had an orchestra that they paid to like make the soundtrack. It was just songs. It was like Tony Hawk. They were just like, these songs are fucking awesome. Let's put it in the game. Like Burnout did exactly that. God, it had everything. It had bands that I still listen to these days that no one's ever heard of. It had like the Mooney Suzuki in it. It had fucking I know that's a weird name.
It's like I don't even know who the hell that was.
Mike's like, yep, Mooney Suzuki, sure, whatever.
Great band.
Whatever the fuck you just said.
I believe in you.
It had so many fantastic artists in it, known and unknown, and it was just great. But more importantly, as Mike was getting at, is that the game, it kind of trimmed the fat. It was a racing game, but during racing, it added the awesome element of smash into your competition.
Yep.
If you and a car are going head to head, just fucking run them off the road.
Yeah.
That was awesome. So it had the smashing, which was a huge part of it. It made the game 100 times more interesting. But then, I mean, you had to balance your boost. The ways to get boost were to drive recklessly. Like, it had a really cool system involved in it, where drive on the opposite side of the road. It's the risk versus reward. It was unbelievable in that game. It was great. So to go back through my lower part, is number 5 is Rocket League for all current consoles. Number 4 is Stuntman for PlayStation 2, and number 3 is Burnout 3 for PlayStation 2 as well.
Nice. I'm doing one Final Switch as well, just between my top 1, my second, and my number 2. So my number 2 though is Star Wars Pod Racers for Nintendo 64. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's actually, if we were going to have honorable mentions, that was my one honorable mention.
Oh my god, dude, that game. So much fun. And it was the level designs were great. I loved it for how many different racers you can pick from. I love the parts upgrades to upgrade your own vehicles and stuff.
The customization
was insanely good. Oops, sorry, I hit the table.
But like, think of any other game that was doing that at the time. I mean, this is N64, and we're talking like parts upgrading, like going into the junkyard and buying,
making deals and stuff. Like, you can go to the junkyard to buy it like at discounts by luck, or actually going out to buy parts too from like full price.
Yeah, what other car racing game offered that much accessorizing and customization in fucking N64 days?
I know, it was insane, and it's like I loved it too because like all my friends, all my brothers, we each had our own unique driver that we liked the most and all that stuff. It was just like. And each one was a viable racer and all that, so it was just awesome. And it was just really cool, like, while you're racing, you can even bash people, damage their engines, you repair your engine and all that stuff in the middle of a race and all that. It was an intense thing.
Yeah.
It was just just a good racing game, especially for its time, and I would definitely buy a remake of that instantly, honestly. I would totally buy it for the updated for graphics and all that stuff, because there was so much in that game that you can do. Like, the best thing that they could add was actually making your own racer pod thing. That's, like, the one thing they can add that would make it, like, even better. But besides that, though, yeah, I mean, there's not much else. It's just a good game.
I thought that the boost mechanic was really cool in it. So the idea is that you wanted to ride your boost as hard and as long as you could up until the very last second. Not that the movie is, like, the best ever, but the idea is that if you use your boost too much, your engine would explode.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty awesome idea of, like, you pretty much get as close to that as possible without going over.
And then you have to cool them down, which then, like, kind of decrease your speeds for just a little bit. But yeah, it was, such a good game.
Yeah. It was honestly, I mean, the same way that Burnout 3 had a lot of good boost balancing. Like, Star Wars Racer did the exact same thing, where it was just balancing your boost, knowing the track enough to be like, use your boost here, reserve it here and here.
And then, like, after if your engines took damage, like, what would be the best time to repair your engines? Now, a lot of times that was best when you're in the middle of a jump, because it's like, all right, you're already in the air, so it's like, this is the best time to repair your engine and all that stuff, because you're just falling, and you still have momentum and all that stuff. And that was what I loved about it too, because like even if your engines were damaged, they were still working at full efficiency. But at a certain point, they could explode if someone hits you again. So it's like, when do I repair my engines and all that stuff? So there's still so much in that thing when you have to think about while racing.
Yeah, that is a great game.
And so yeah, so that's my number 2.
My number 2 is okay. So apparently this game is really popular outside of the U.S. and a lot of people play it in the U.S. But I figured I haven't played it in years, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad game at all. But this is Trackmania Nations. So Trackmania, it's a really popular series. Trackmania Nations is...
Don't know that one.
It's free on Steam. It's really cool. The graphics... I mean, this game has been out for, like, more than a handful of years. The graphics look incredible. For being a free game, like, I think I played it, like, 6 years ago or something. It was, like, unbelievable. It looked beautiful, gorgeous, all that. And, so Trackmania Nations, free game. You make your own course, and it's just a... It's a racing game, but it's more like make the most wildest course you can.
Wow.
So there's like, sorry, I should say it's not a conventional racing game. The tracks are like up in the air. You use momentum a lot to like, now you're wall riding. Now you're going through a flip.
This is nuts.
It's so much fun. Honestly, we went through a moment back in college with me and my friends where we just played this game after school for like a solid month, and it's a really great game. The customization in it is fantastic. The levels that people create are absolutely insane.
That's bloody awesome. I'm surprised this is a free game and all that.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome.
It looks beautiful.
So Trackmania Nations is number 2. It's just a really fun game, and in terms of racing, like it's realistic enough, and it's also non-realistic. It's that perfect balance of like, you're not like throwing mushrooms or shells at people, but at the same time your car is like in the air doing flips, and it's just a really fun balance, I guess.
No, yeah, that's awesome.
So what's your number 1, bud?
My number 1 is the Twisted Metal series. I put every single Twisted Metal game that's been out there, and I've loved every single one of them.
Yeah,
I love the character designs. The story, each character has a unique story, which is basically, hey, Twisted Metal is a death match, and then they're set up by the devil Calypso, and if you win, you get your wish. And every character has their own background story, why they want their wish and all that stuff. And each character had such a unique special ability, their own special rides. I love the destructive abilities and like in the towns and all that stuff. The weapon choices were awesome. And like every Twisted Metal had their own kind of unique spin to it. I loved it how like Twisted Metal Black, I'm pretty sure that's most people know about, how it got so dark and gritty, even more so than the other ones. And that's, I guess, also what I liked about the Twisted Metal series, that they were all very dark, except for like Twisted Metal Black took it to a new level and all that stuff, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah. Did you ever play the remake Twisted Metal for PlayStation 3?
The remake of it? No, actually.
Well, so all it was called was just Twisted Metal. So it was essentially, it's like how they made Tomb Raider for PlayStation 3, but you know, obviously there's been other Tomb Raiders. This was a really fun version. This one, the levels were 100% fully destructible. I know that the other ones do claim that as well, but this is like full on. You had the multiplayer was really cool in it. So instead of 1 versus 1 car, you had like a gang. So like you were Sweet Tooth's gang, and you can see multiple people. Like you would be driving around, and upgrades were to like get a guy to like hang out your window and sniper shoot other cars.
I did play that one. Yeah, that one was really interesting too. I remember that one now.
There was a guy that was like in a helicopter and stuff. Like it was a really, really fun game.
Yeah, and like every single one, they had something new and unique, and that's why I absolutely loved about the Twisted Metal series. And it was just like the one thing that me and my brother saw is there was like a Twisted Metal. I was like, motherfucker, we're getting that game.
Yeah.
And we just play the shit out of them, and I still love them. And it was just a very awesome, unique idea what they just ran with. And it's now, obviously, you see it in other games now. But Twisted Metal really just nailed it to the teeth and all that. I just absolutely loved it. And I just love the series, too. It really, like, I loved every character. And it made me always want to beat every single one's campaign. Because I always wanted to see, you know, because usually Calypso would give them, like, it was kind of like a genie kind of thing. It's like, oh, you wish for this. And it's, like, complete opposite what they really wanted. Except for some. Some got exactly in the one, and some of them were kind of tricked by Calypso and all that.
Yeah, it was
which
kind
was
of
interesting.
It was kind of like the dead monkey's hand kind of theory, where you get your wish, but in a very twisted or demented way. You know, I want to be rich. Well, you're rich in. I guess I really didn't have a follow through that, but
you're rich in like disease or something like that.
I guess so. Yeah.
But no, it was like that, and some of them did get their wish like they wanted, but then there'd be someone they just totally got fucked over, which is really cool to see. The cutscenes were always really cool, and yeah, it just Twisted was just such a cool idea, and I absolutely love them, and they still hold up today to me, at least to me, and all that. But yeah, that's my number one though, is Twisted Metal, and to go back over it, then I have Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, Mario Kart, Burnout, Star Wars Pod Racers for number 2, and then finally the Twisted Metal series. I loved every single one of them.
My number one, no surprises here, Mario Kart 64.
Nice.
I was thinking about it, and initially I didn't have it at number 1. I had it at number 3. But let's not kid ourselves. I mean, this is a game that... Mario Kart 64. When did this game come out? Like 20 years ago? More? And I'm still fucking playing it.
I still like it more than like the Mario Kart 8, honestly.
Mario Kart 8, there's nothing wrong with it, but the point is that Mario Kart 64 has stood the test of time, where we'll see what Mario Kart 8, what happens with that. In 20 years, if we're still playing it, then
good for that.
Yeah, exactly. But Mario Kart 64 it's already been there. It's already walked that trail.
Yep.
It's already proven itself. So, like I said, no surprises. Everyone knows Mario Kart, or if you've listened to us, you are tired of hearing about fucking Mario Kart. So, I'm not going to get into it too much, but let's not kid ourselves. It's the game that I have. It's the driving game that easily I've put the most amount of time into. Another honorable mention is Diddy Kong Racing.
Ah, yes.
I like Diddy Kong Racing a lot, but I kind of like it for the story mode more than I like it for the multiplayer.
Really?
Excuse me. Yeah. So there's a couple games on my list that also did that. So Burnout 3 and Stuntman, those are games that I like for the campaign more than the multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
But Diddy Kong Racing, the reason that it didn't make the list is because pretty much it was like I would consider Mario Kart and Diddy Kong generally on the same spectrum. The thing that Mario Kart 64 did better than Diddy Kong is that it was more luck based, as Diddy Kong Racing is more skill based. Like the items that you get, you know what you're going to get, and if you know a course well enough, then you can get the best outcome. Pick the fastest character every time.
I'd always get wrecked in that game. I was terrible in that.
But that's the thing, is like a game, if it's going to be fun, it can't be like Super Smash Bros. Where one person is better than everyone else. It can't be like Super Street Fighters where, you've got the one friend that's really good and everyone else is like, let's literally play any other game because I fucking hate losing to you.
Yeah, because we already know who's going to win and all that.
Like, I love Diddy Kong Racing, but the point is I haven't played it nearly as often as I have these other games on the list. I haven't had nearly as great of a time playing that game that I did with these other ones in recent history, simply because there's no competition in it,
Yeah.
And if there is any competition, it's either I'm better than all of you and this game is boring, or it's I'm worse than you and this game is boring.
Yep.
So Diddy Kong Racing for N64, it's a good campaign game, but at the end of the day, it has like zero replayability.
Yeah, unlike Mario Kart, you can play that freaking forever.
Yeah, all these games. Burnout 3, I love replaying Burnout 3 Crash Mode.
Yeah.
Stuntman, it's probably a game that I would like to revisit every single year if I could, because I fucking love tearing my hair out in some of those moments, and it's hilarious. Rocket League, it's not even get me started on replayability. Yeah, so Diddy Kong Racing makes an honorable mention, but at the same time, it does have massive flaws. It didn't age nearly as well as Mario Kart
did. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my list there. Those are my honorable mentions. Let's see. So I've got some. Mike and I have like generally a topic here that we want to get through, but I do want to mention some smaller news first. So both of these, before I get into them, I feel like it's nothing that we really need to talk about too much. It's more of like of course this is happening, but I figure like it's important enough to talk about it. So first off, Sony plans. Supposedly they had like a press release. Sony plans to focus more on first-party games, which means that they're going to be doing more. I don't know if it means more exclusive, but I would assume that that's what it means. So I'm trying to think of Sony-specific games. So like Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, Crash Bandicoot.
Now, does it mean by old games or making new ones?
Yeah, I mean that could also be a thing. Maybe they're just doing remakes or remasters, which wouldn't be nearly as exciting.
Yeah, so I think they may be trying to focus on new ideas because after I think Horizon, that dinosaur one, that was a really good one. So I think they might try to work on new IPs. It sounds like for how successful that last one was. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, because so far all their single IPs are freaking fantastic.
Yeah, you were just talking about Twisted Metal. I mean, talk about a great Sony game.
Yeah, that's one of their top favorites of mine. Also, The Last of Us, freaking amazing.
Right.
And then Event Horizon, I haven't played yet, but looks freaking beautiful. And I've only heard positive things about that game. I've not heard anything negative about that game at all.
Yeah.
You ever finished that yet?
No. It's on my list. I'm getting around to it.
Nice. But yeah, that's like, so I'm really, because damn, Sony makes some great games. Single IP games, yeah, they nail them.
Here's the thing, though.
Except for Knack. Knack was a flop.
Yeah.
And no one wanted Knack 2, but they made it anyways.
I don't even know how that, like, who put enough money into making Knack 2, and did they really expect it to be popular?
I really don't know how that happened, but they did. And it was like, okay.
So here's the thing is, you and I talk a lot about the Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've been on the road playing it. I've been using it for like Hulu exclusively, and it's like my Hulu machine, and I love it. But Nintendo Switch, they're almost doing the exact opposite, where we haven't heard of a new Samus game or like a Donkey Kong game or anything like that. But we have gotten so many third-party apps from the digital store on Nintendo.
Yeah.
Their library, from what I've heard, I mean, the system's been out for like a year, a little bit longer. Their library, their digital library, is larger than Xbox One's entire library for like the last, 4 years it's been out.
Holy
or something.
Crap.
Yeah. So
this... And honestly, I keep on looking on the online store because if I see an indie game that's like a single player on the computer, I look in the Switch first to see then if I can get on the Switch.
Yeah. So I'm excited that they're looking at new first-party games, or that they're looking at focusing on first-party games. But at the same time, I don't want them to neglect any third-party games that want to get onto the Sony system, because it has done wonders for the Switch. So I'm kind of back and forth about that. But
I think exclusivity is never a good thing for a console, especially nowadays with a PC just being more and more popular out there. Especially the Steam world, especially the Steam trying to get out into the console world as well. It's not the best I've heard, but there's trying still.
It sucks. Exclusivity sucks for the gamer, because if you want to play, Event Horizon, Crash Bandicoot, you have to get a PlayStation. If you want to play Halo, you have to get I guess you could get a PC, but generally you have to get an Xbox.
You have to get an Xbox for most of the time. I think there's talk about bringing the latest Halo to the PC, which I pray for, because I'll buy that right off the bat. I want that.
Either way, I think exclusive games make sense for a console company, because you have to find ways to entice people to buy it.
Yeah.
But I just hope that they don't neglect third parties either, because, I mean, every single We Can't Code episode, for example, we end on what games are coming out for Steam, what games are coming out for Nintendo Store, what games are coming out for this or that. Like, if that is any testament to how important third-party titles are, I don't know what is. We have an entire segment dedicated to our show on third-party games. So I just hope, I'm excited because I love Sony exclusives, but I just hope that they don't neglect any third-party.
Yeah, me as well.
The other news, this is just silly. I don't know why I added this, but I just thought it was funny, is Tony Hawk is no longer working with Activision.
Oh, no.
As a surprise to no one,
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, the last skate games that have been coming out have been huge flops.
Yeah.
They have not been good at all.
I mean, this is just a personal opinion, but everything after Tony Hawk's Pro Skate, or Tony Hawk's Underground, even the second one, especially the second one, everything after that was dog shit.
No, yeah, and it's one of those things that I don't know what happened. It's one of the, I actually watched a documentary of someone who worked in all the underground stuff, and like he worked up to Underground 2, then stopped after that. He worked like on Tony Hawk Pro Skater and all that stuff, and he was even talking about that. He just says like, yeah, after a while, it just kind of just it became a chain. They just said, all right, just sell a game, just sell a game, sell a game, and it just became to a point where it's just no longer about skating. It was just about just selling a game.
Yeah.
And trying to make things stupid.
Well, Tony Hawk's Underground 2 was essentially like Jackass the game, you know?
Yeah.
I remember I rented it because you can already tell, like, from the box art. I mean, I could pull it up here. I don't need to. But it was, like, wild and wacky and zany in comparison to the other ones.
Yeah.
And you could pretty much tell it was just, like, Bam Margera and the Jackass crew. And then, like, you skateboarded in it. But realistically, like, it was just them fucking around.
Yep.
Like, I think you skateboarded as Bam Margera's dad in one part or something.
I
Where
think
he's,
so,
like,
yeah.
in his underwear. Like, the game was a fucking joke.
Yeah. Underground though was good though.
Yeah, Underground was my favorite.
Yeah, it brought it back to its roots and all that stuff, where it's about you skating and all that stuff, not about like, oh, you know, now you're driving a random moped or stuff like that, or you're in a car and driving a car. I'm like, it was just you just doing these cool stunts in these cool areas and all that stuff.
There was a little bit of zaniness in Underground, but there wasn't nearly as much, like, I don't think anyone liked Underground for the zaniness, but I think that the good reception that it got, I think that Activision misunderstood it, and they were like, oh, people like the car driving segments or the parts where you gotta do this or that. Like,
we just like the high scores and just doing cool stunts on the skateboard and all that stuff.
Yeah, like, even the part where you could get off your board was kind of lame, but for a game, like, if you remember the movement in the previous games, it was hard to get around, because you couldn't, like, stop indefinitely.
It helped you get to great ways to start your skating and all that stuff. So I liked it, because it made it easier to get to areas that you wanted to start in to do your stunts and all that stuff.
Yeah, I just think that they saw the game and they looked at the wrong shit.
Then there's that game it wasn't a Tony Hawk one or Activision one. Someone made like a serious skateboarding game that did really good again, and all that stuff. Then like Tony tried to like not Tony specifically him, but Activision tried to make that freaking skateboard thing. Do you remember that?
Yeah, Tony Hawk's Ride.
Oh my god, I saw that. I was like, what am I looking at? Like, how can you do anything with that?
Yeah, so I think, Mike, the game that you're referring to is Skate, where you had to move the analog sticks to do the specific tricks.
Yeah, that was a very popular one. That came back to its original roots, and that did really well.
Yeah.
And then Activision tried to say, oh yeah, they want realism. Let's give them realism. Let's give them a plastic little board thing. I'm like, no, they didn't want this.
What were they thinking?
No one wanted this. You think that people want to
Nobody asked for this.
Like, they're going to try to, do a kickflip in the middle of their living room with a plastic board?
Yeah.
And I just, when it came out, I was like, what's wrong with you? Who passed this idea? Like, what was the discussion in that conference meeting when they showed that board to the rest of everyone? They were like, genius. This is what every kid would want.
Well, I mean, the Wii was that came out when the Wii was coming out, and so I'm sure that they saw motion controls as an opportunity. I mean, Wii's the best-selling console. Like,
yeah, but we had a universal motion controller. This was just straight up a snowboard.
I'm not defending it. I'm just saying I can understand how they misunderstood that market.
When I was a kid and I saw that, I saw they missed it right on point, right when I saw them reveal that. I think a lot of people did.
Yeah.
I just can't, it's cool that you want to defend it, but I can't see how they could thought that was a good idea.
I don't want to defend the idea. I just want to defend that I don't think that it was too outlandish for them to think it would work, seeing the Wii's success. But I'm not defending.
The thing is, I know why the Wii had success, because it was a universal type of remote. You know, you can use it for multiple things. These board you only use from one thing, and it was already at the phase where Guitar Hero, people were getting kind of tired of Guitar Hero. You know, it's like they were trying to copy something, because Guitar Hero did a good job, because yes, it's a controller for sure, only Guitar Hero, but it's a great party game thing that everyone can jump in and use, you know, and hang out with and do. The skateboard thing, not so much.
Yeah, and puzzle games are generally, like, people that don't play games are more prone to playing a puzzle game than they are with, like, I don't play games. Oh, it's all right, Grandpa. Take a step on this skateboard.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. And, the guitar thing, anyone can really use after, you got used to it.
Yeah.
The board, not so much.
Anyway, it didn't have to be a huge thing. I just wanted to mention those two things. So Sony focusing on first-party games. Tony Hawk no longer working with Activision, to no one's surprise. Once again,
I thought that he was already done with them.
Yeah, I figured like even I figured Tony Hawk wasn't even part of Activision for the longest time, but they just still had the rights to use his name.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine that Tony Hawk was standing behind like Tony Hawk's Ride or like Tony Hawk's American Wasteland or all those other games. Yeah.
I really hope not.
Anyway, in terms of the actual topic that Mike and I had, we just kind of wanted to go over like consoles in the last couple generations and talk about, you know, what they did right, what they did wrong. We kind of had a segment of like 2 or 3 episodes ago where we talked about like the GameCube controller and like it's the complete downfall. But we also thought, you know, what are other consoles that had downfalls, and then what did consoles do right? To start with the GameCube controller, obviously they did that bad, but one thing that the GameCube did really well is that it was the cheapest ever console to be released.
Was it really?
I think, if I remember correctly, the cheapest console ever to be released, it was $280.
Oh, wow.
Which, I mean, it's crazy to think that we're
kind of... some really good games on it, though.
Yeah.
And, like, really fantastic good games, like Resident Evil and a few others.
Yeah, I don't know the specific price. I think 280 was just a guess, but I do remember, on release, it was the cheapest console to ever get released with such a low price. But also, the GameCube, what they did really well was they had a fucking handle on the back of it.
Yeah.
Which, like, you look at how tiny the GameCube is, I mean, it was totally, back in the day, that was totally a portable console.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they had, like, Metroid.
Yeah, Metroid Prime. Jesus Christ. Wind
Resident
Waker.
Evil. Pikmin was a great game. Fucking, let's see if I can find the game on here. And one game I used to play a lot. Oh, Eternal Darkness was a good one, too.
Yep. Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door. 100%.
Yeah, it's, like, such good games on it. It blew me away.
Animal Crossing. Huge game.
Yep. It was nuts for how many good quality games they had on it. It was the only reason why I wish I had one.
Yep. Mario Sunshine. Yeah, so, I mean, I figured we would start there just because, you know, we were kind of talking shit about the GameCube with the controller, but there were some saving grace moments, too. Let's see. So, the other one I wanted to mention was N64. We kind of shat on that controller as well. But the N64 was the first console that supported 4-person controllers. Yeah. And, I mean, look at the market that turned into.
And it had fantastic games to support that 4-player mentality, too.
Yeah.
It had, like, amazing games that were great for parties.
Like how...
Mario Kart, Perfect Dark, GoldenEye.
Yeah, we were talking about this on our driving games, but Mario Kart 64 is my favorite driving game, and that was like a pioneer. I mean, obviously they made a Mario Kart before that, but we're talking 4-player cooperative. I mean, that's a whole different ballpark than Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo. And yeah, they made it work. It's unbelievable.
Racing. They just had a great party system game.
Yeah.
And just totally rocked it.
Yep. Pokemon Stadium. All those mini games in Pokemon Stadium were so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so, like, even though the controller was shit, I mean, obviously people do like the N64. One of the big things that they liked it was because it was a pioneer in just community.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, any game system before that only supported 2 people at most. I don't know. What are some other consoles that had, like, clear downfalls or clear... I guess moments. Like PlayStation brought pretty much graphics and hardware to the gaming industry.
What about the Dreamcast?
Did they do anything right? No.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of my brothers had a Dreamcast when he was in college, and I played it, but there was really nothing to it though. I really felt like nothing really came out of that. That was amazing.
So Sonic Adventure came out of it, which a lot of people like. I'm trying to think if the controller was good, if the size was good.
The controller's really awkward.
Well, what did it... It had, like, a screen in the controller.
That was for, like,
It was like a Tamagotchi screen or something.
Yeah, because you had a special memory card you can put into it and all that.
Yeah.
And then you can take care of things on it. I think it was, like... You can put, like, Final Fantasy. Like, you can raise a chocobo on it, I believe. Or was that on the Sony memory card, the normal one?
I have no idea. I never owned a Dreamcast. Honestly, I can't think of any saving graces for the Dreamcast right now.
I really can't either.
I mean, look at the controller. That controller is a worse design than the Xbox controller.
I like the Xbox controller. I love the Xbox controller, especially the original one.
Yeah,
Big
that's what I
Bertha.
mean. Yeah, the Duke.
This one though, just like one analog stick, up, down, left arrow, and that's it. It just looks cheap.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It just looks really super cheap.
Also, I mean, look. Okay, so we're looking at pictures of the Dreamcast. Mike, look at how the controller. The wire starts at the bottom of the controller.
Yeah.
So like if you're holding the controller, the wire peaks underneath it, which means you're always going to be pulling at it instead of like naturally the wire being at the top of the controller. Like that's such a weird design choice. I don't know if the Dreamcast has any saving grace, honestly.
I really don't think it does. It's just like a cheap substitute for, I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? PlayStation 3. I would say PlayStation 3 had internet capability. So, Xbox and PlayStation 3, I would say Sony PlayStation was free. And so in that sense, PlayStation had, I think, the superior internet
play.
Yeah, online play. But in terms of like communication, I think that Xbox coming with the microphone,
Yeah.
that was like they had better like community, and we had better online play at PlayStation. Because I remember all my buddies that had Xboxes that had their microphone, and I was so fucking jealous. I was like, are you kidding me? Like I want to. It's not enough to play an online game and not be able to talk to them. And then everyone with an Xbox was like chatting with their buddies, like calling all these people faggots and noobs and shit. And I was like, I want that, you know?
It was great.
So, I think definitely that generation, hats off for specifically online. You know, that was pretty much the centerpiece for that generation.
I was a huge Xbox boy guy. I had the Xbox 360, and then I also had the PS1 and PS2 and the PS3.
Mm-hmm. I would say Xbox 360. I know that this is more of like
it was kind of a shitty console. In the hardware wise, it usually had a lot of problems with it.
Hardware, yeah, I would say hardware for 360 was not good. The Red Ring of Death obviously sucked a lot, but I would say that the saving grace of the 360, and this is, what do I want to say? I guess I would think that 360 brought the modern shooter to
The console?
Yeah, because games before that, we talk about Perfect Dark, we talk about GoldenEye, and how those games haven't really aged well. But when the 360 came out, you know, we're talking like Call of Duty's rise is kind of in the 360 days. Like,
yeah, the Halos too, at least for me, all that.
Yep, and even though a lot of those games, you know, Call of Duty was on PlayStation, let's be serious. That sense of community on Xbox, I never owned an Xbox, but there's a reason why Xbox is king when it comes to Call of Duty. I mean, for someone that's never owned a 360, whenever someone says I want to play Call of Duty, I naturally think this motherfucker's got an Xbox, you know? So I would think that they kind of brought in 360 brought in the modern FPS, I would say.
Sony did have a lot better single IP games, though.
Yeah,
it really brought a lot more than what the Xbox did. Xbox just brought in, honestly, Halo. Sony had a shit ton of great IPs to it.
I would say PlayStation 3, I mean, just look at Uncharted and Last of Us. I would say that Sony PlayStation 3 brought in hardware once again, but visuals.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not saying Xbox didn't have this, but if I'm trying to think of like one character or one characteristic or one trait that each console brought, that would probably be it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's still a little too early to tell where Xbox One and PlayStation 4 are going to be.
Yeah.
Like what they're bringing to the table at the end of the day.
I mean, Xbox One has like the Xbox Scorpio coming out or something like that. They already have like another one coming out. And
the 4K, isn't that already out? I thought it was.
I don't know. It's hard to keep up with these consoles now. It's like they're just like throwing them out there like they're nothing.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I mean, that's what I like about Nintendo. Is like when Nintendo puts out a console, they put on a whole different new console out there. Mm-hmm. Except for their Wii U. The Wii U was kind of their flop. That was the like. What is this? It's just like you buy a controller for your Wii.
You can say I'm not disagreeing with you, but the numbers talk. I mean,
No, yeah.
it is a game that brought gaming to the casual, the everyday person.
No, yeah. I mean, the Wii did fantastic. Love it. The Wii U was kind of just a bad marketing issue, but the Switch.
Oh, the Wii U.
Yeah, the Wii U.
Sorry.
Yeah. Nothing on the Wii. The Wii, yeah, freaking fantastic job.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the Wii U was kind of a necessary step, though. The more I think about it,
yeah.
they needed to show that there was a market for a full handheld experience that didn't feel like a handheld experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, having 720p, 1080p graphics handheld, like, it kind of, you know, it's like
a stepping stone. It was the main stepping stone for the Switch.
it was like the Apollo 10 to work its way up to the Apollo 11, you know?
But yeah, I mean, it's like it had its flaw, but yeah, it did have its purpose for sure. Oh, I forgot about brute force.
It was a necessary stepping stone. You don't get to the later Apollos without you know, the first 1 through 10 or 12 or whatever. So I don't know. Sorry, we just kind of came up with that list randomly, but I mean,
Yeah.
I do kind of stand by that. I think everything that we said
No, I agree.
makes sense. Anytime I think of like online game for console, as equal as PlayStation is with, like, you know, their servers aren't shit or anything, I naturally think of Xbox. When I think of like graphics and like a game looking beautiful, no offense to Microsoft in the same sense, but I naturally think of like people playing The Last of Us, people playing Event Horizon, people playing PlayStation exclusives.
Yeah, I think Sony is having the most unique IPs that are really, really good.
Yeah, and just like beautiful looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I've got to say about that. We can move on to games coming out if you want, but I really don't have too much to go on that.
I have nothing. I looked, I saw nothing I wanted.
All right.
Except for, obviously, Vermintide's coming out this week officially on the 8th.
Yep, Warhammer Vermintide 2, the game that we pre-purchased. Yeah, it officially comes out on February 8th. Look into it. It's on Steam. It's going to be on all major consoles as well.
The only reason why I pre-purchased it is because I knew I was going to get it, and it was on, it was a 10% sale. So, I mean, if you're hearing this and you like Vermintide or you're high on shit, I say grab it now because you'll definitely get your money's worth.
Yeah, so they actually have a pretty decent pre-purchase where it is 10% off. You also get the first DLC for free. Like, it comes with some really good perks. So, other things that are coming out. There's nothing specifically mind-blowing here, but the first thing is Final Fantasy 15 is getting an official Windows release. So that comes out on the 6th. But pretty much, yeah, it's just Final Fantasy 15 Windows Edition.
Yeah.
And you can find it on Steam. It's $50. And yeah, I bought it. I only got a couple hours in, but you know, it's still a game worth mentioning. It's Final Fantasy. There's one more that I have here. So let me pull it up. Okay, so this game's called Earthlock. It comes out on March 8th, and kind of fitting with the same Final Fantasy game that I previously mentioned. I'll read the summary here. So, Earthlock is an indie-developed adventure RPG inspired by classic 3D RPGs of the late 90s, with a fresh take on turn-based combat and character progression. So pretty much this game is based off of, you know, Final Fantasy and all those other types of games. It's just a as they mentioned, a classic 3D RPG adventure. There's turn-based combat. Honestly, I don't have too much else to say about it. It's exactly what you expect, but that doesn't make it necessarily bad. Like, animations and all look pretty good in it.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's probably exactly what you'd expect it to be without even looking into it. But if you like those kind of RPGs, then, you know, look into it. Indie game comes out March 8th. Sorry, I'm just repeating myself at this point. There's nothing particularly unique about it.
No, yeah. Looks cute.
Yeah. It's polished enough that it looks like a fun experience. I know nothing about the story, but if you like those types of games, you'll like it, I'm sure. It doesn't look like it would let you down.
The style is nice. The graphics look good. Yeah, it looks like a finished game.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Which is kind of weird nowadays.
Yeah. God. 21 episodes. That means that for like 30 minutes or for an hour every single weekend, Mike and I look on Steam upcoming games and we see like the worst of the worst. I mean, games coming out.
We're doing you a privilege here. We really hope you appreciate this shit.
Honestly, there's so many games that are just dog shit, and you can tell right off the bat they look terrible. So I don't mean to undersell this game that we mentioned.
I might start just looking at like Switch's release things upcoming on like the Switches, because at least they have a little bit tighter, restrictions on the games they put on there.
I don't know.
Not always, but
I think it's important to go through the Steam upcoming games because
it is. No, I mean, I totally agree too. But sometimes it's just hard. This one was a little bit harder than most. Cause I saw nothing.
Everything really just sucks on upcoming. I feel bad saying that, but
I mean, I know, because like these people are doing a lot. It's not easy making games and all that stuff. I'm not gonna deny that, but doesn't mean they're not looking good.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we can't make fun of them every once in a while.
And that's the whole point of this podcast.
We will criticize the shit out of you and your stupid video game company. Okay, so next week we're doing top 5 worst movie adaptions because we decided that we couldn't think of 5 good movie adaptions. So this one should be a whole lot easier. Top 5 worst movie adaptions. Games I'll be playing this week. Honestly, the only one that I can really guarantee 100% is Doom. I would like to play more PUBG. I was feeling that from last night.
Likewise.
And Vermintide 2, really fun.
I definitely want to play some more Vermintide 2.
Hell yeah. But like I said, if I was going to guarantee one game, 100%, I mean, the second we finish this, I'm playing Doom.
Me, it'd be Breath of the Wild, PUBG, Vermintide 2. I really want to get some Siege back in, too.
Yep.
I want to play that zombie mode that's coming out.
Yep.
And, but yeah, that's really it. I really want to finish Breath of the Wild. Because that game is a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying the storyline too, by the way. It's not just like the ability to do everything. I'm not even getting lost in the world. I really want to focus on the main story. But I do enjoy the shrines. The shrines are a nice break from the story, though, which I enjoy.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, honestly, guys, I mean, this is episode 21. I know that I kind of psyched it up and thought that we were halfway through the year and 6 months in. But the point is that, I mean, if you're listening to this episode, thank you. Like, I feel like we don't say that enough. Thanks for listening. We put a lot of time into this, and it's just cool to have anyone listen to it.
Oh, yeah. It makes it all the worth the while.
I mean, please listen in next week, but hopefully, if you have any comments, let us know.
Yeah. Hit us up.
All right.